My days working, taking care of my little ones can be a lot. I checked out care.com and it was so easy for me to find local, experienced, and background check sitters. Finding our babysitter was way more affordable than I thought. Care.com makes it super easy. Search for qualified candidates. You can view their profiles, read reviews and ratings, check their availability, send messages directly, and get the help that you need. Care.com should be every person's go-to.
You've discovered your link to GoPowercat.com's Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast. Here are your hosts, former K-State tight end Travis Tannahill and former Wildcat safety Monte Spiller.
Welcome, everyone, to the Tannahill and Spiller Podcast. I am Travis Tannahill. We got Monty on the line with us, doing everything remotely due to COVID, as everything nowadays. Monte Spiller, how you doing, big guy? How you been?
I'm good, man. Hanging in there, maintaining. Excited that we're actually playing football, so that's a plus.
Yep, absolutely. You, how was your off season? Shoot, it's been 9 months since we've talked to you, so give all the listener, anything fun happened in the last 9 months? How's life?
Between work and trying to keep my sanity, that's about it, man.
Yeah. How's still coaching high school ball?
I am. We had our first game was canceled because the team we were supposed to play, Silver Lake, they had a coach, I believe, that tested positive, and they had to quarantine other coaches, so that game was canceled. And we played our first game last week against Rossville, who was ranked number 1 in the state in 2A, and we ended up losing by 1. We went for the 2-point conversion, didn't get it, and lost by 1 after that play. So it was a game. It was a good game.
Was that your call to go for it, or whose call was that?
That was the offensive. That was the offensive coach. Hey, trust me, I'm defense. But if I was offense, I would have went for it too.
All right, yeah. Hindsight's always 20/20 in those type of situations. But be aggressive. This season doesn't even count. Especially at the college ranks. This season's just like a for fun season. So it's just like a massive preseason. Diving in to Cats versus Arkansas State. First off, where'd you watch the game at?
I watched it from home. I considered going to the game, but with everything going on, with me being around a bunch of high school kids, football season, and also for my job, I chose to stay away from the stadium, try to be responsible, and I'm kind of glad I did. I'm a big Cats guy, and watching the game, it was kind of a up and down experience. What about you? Where'd you watch it?
I was actually at the game, so it was an okay atmosphere. It was kind of the best it's going to be, I guess. I did a little pregame work for K-State prior to the game, and that always comes with a free ticket. So I was in the door, figured I might as well stay and watch it, which, was an exciting game. I was hoping for a non-exciting blowout by Kansas State, but that's not the cards we were dealt. So, but you got to watch it with Gus and Joel, and had a pretty good TV experience, which is always nice. But overall thoughts, overall thoughts, what'd you think? What'd you see out there? Kind of where are your maybe positives from this game or struggles from this game? What'd you think of the team? What they put out there on Saturday?
Overall, the one thing I think that stood out to everybody, not just me, Deuce Vaughn, the freshman, I think from Texas, running back. The future looks bright at that position. The kid is dynamic, not very big, but he made people miss. He finished runs. He was fun to watch. A lot of people compared him to Darren Sproles. Obviously, Darren being a K-State guy, being short in stature. But that was one of the few bright spots offensively, I think. With the O-line being young, they struggle. I'm not saying it was a surprise, but I was kind of surprised that they struggled as much as they did. Not taking anything away from Arkansas State because they got some really good quality players. But I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't dominate the run game more up front like we have in the past, and it's kind of a staple of K-State football, especially starting out early, trying to get that blueprint going of what we are known for. So that was kind of disappointing. Defensive-wise, it was frustrating that number 9 for Arkansas State, I think he would have made any defensive back in the Big 12, SEC, anywhere look average. That kid was a player. He just happened to have a uniform on that had Arkansas State. So it was one of those things where a lot of work to be done, and I'm thankful we had a bye week this week to prepare for Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I mean, I'm sure those players are not happy of a bye week. I know how it was with me. If we lost, I hated having to sit around for 2 weeks and have to think about that loss before you get to go out there and play. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned a few things. Obviously, Jonathan Adams, number 9 there for Arkansas State. Looking at his stat line here, 8 receptions, 98 yards, 12.2 yards per catch with 3 touchdowns. Kansas State knew the ball was going to him, and they still couldn't stop him, which is a sign of a great receiver. So when everyone in the stadium knows the ball is going to you and they still can't keep it out of your hands, that means you're pretty good. You're pretty athletic, and you're a pretty darn good wide receiver. You did mention Deuce Vaughn, and Deuce had a really nice day. And I think what I took from it mainly from watching him play and really more from the post-game press conferences and even Coach Kleiman's Tuesday presser of this week was, I mean, just his maturity and just, I mean, how young were you when you got on the field, Monty? What year did you start seeing some or significant playing time?
Yeah, I redshirted my freshman year, my first year at K-State. I redshirted, so I had a year to get used to the speed of the game. You're familiar with the cat bowls that we had on Friday evenings. Yeah. So that was a big thing. And then Saturday morning scrimmage we would have before the season actually started. So I had a full year to be on scout team going against some quality guys like a Chad May, Kevin Lockett, Mitch Roney, all those guys. I saw them daily at practice, so I got used to the speed of the game. And then that following year, I got on the field as a nickelback and a special teams player. So it wasn't like I was thrown into the fire day one without having a whole lot of practice. And like you said, that kid is mature, and everything being limited because of COVID, he didn't get as much practice time as he normally would coming in as a freshman out of high school. And he goes there, and he looks like he belongs, and that guy, he's a standout, and them guys at K-State has him.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. He, I mean, that's what I remember. I mean, I got on the field. I was the number 2 on the depth chart as a freshman. I'd get 5 to 7 snaps a game with 2 tight end type sets or backups. I wasn't very good as a freshman, so they didn't run 2 tight end stuff very often. But just knowing how much I progressed from that freshman year to that sophomore year even, I mean, holy cows. For him to be able to go out there and run a whole playbook and right from the get-go and be pretty good in pass protection, really good in the run game, that's super impressive. It just shows how much football experience he has coming into Kansas State. And it's really and then, by the time I was a senior, it's, you can play football in your sleep and you know where you're supposed to be, and that's when you can, fully play at full speed, and you're not really thinking, you're just playing football. So I'm excited to watch him progress. Hopefully, obviously at that running back position, he's going to take some dings, take some bangs. So hopefully we're able to keep him healthy for the next 3, 4, 5 years and watch him play throughout his Wildcat career. Staying on the offensive side of the ball, Skylar, what'd you think of that play? Obviously, some of the fan base has been pretty critical of him, and coaching staff has been relatively positive. What did you think of Skylar's play and just overall how he played on Saturday?
It's one of those things, no matter what school you're at, being a quarterback, you are going to either people are going to be happy with you or they're going to despise you week in and week out. And, in Skylar, he showed that he has the ability to make big plays. I think, and myself included, a lot of people, a lot of the fans expected Skylar to come in his senior year and to put up some big numbers no matter who is against. And it was a letdown. He missed a lot of open throws, and that goes to being rusty as well. But when you're a senior quarterback that's proven, that has made plays in big games, people expect you to step up to the plate. And I think Skylar, he'll recover and he'll come back and he'll compete. And just knowing him like I do, that's his nature. But a lot of people don't want to hear that because they wanted to win. And like I said, being a quarterback, the blame is going to get placed on you before it will any other position. I was disappointed a little bit in him, but I still have 100% faith in the kid, and I think he's going to bounce back with a big game against OU. And a lot of times, and you know as well as I did, he had a lot of weapons missing. A lot of guys that he's familiar with didn't play for whatever reason, and that makes a big difference. But I think the 2 weeks off give him an opportunity to kind of reevaluate what he did right and what he did wrong and to come back stronger. But I wish he could have had a better performance opening week.
Yeah, I feel you there. And that was the weird thing is, I mean, he came out hot. I mean, we blocked that punt, and then he threw a pretty darn perfect flag/corner route. I don't remember who caught that pass. But, yeah, threw a perfect ball in between two defenders for a touchdown. And I was like, shoot, all right, Skyler's going to play well. And then it kind of went not downhill, but it was just kind of not crisp. And, I mean, look at his stat line, 17 for 29, 259, 2 touchdowns and an INT. And I went back and looked at the film, and there was at least 3, if not 4 or 5 passes to wide receivers where it wasn't, it wasn't like it was the wide receiver's fault or it was they just weren't on the same page. And Skyler thought he was going to drift a little more, and the wide receiver turned the route up. So there was at least 3 or 4 receptions, I think receptions, which, when if you're at a 23 for 29 for 259 and 2 touchdowns, I mean, that's a pretty good stat line for the day. So he's close. He didn't play bad. He just missed some throws. I thought his decision making was pretty good. Took care of the football, gave his football team a chance to win. And what are your thoughts? And I hope your thoughts are in line with my thoughts on this. But Will Howard, the backup quarterback, what some of the fan base is calling for Skyler's job with Will Howard there at the backup, the young freshman. What I mean, is there any QB controversy right now? Where are you at on that?
I thought maybe Skyler had got hurt when he came in. I was shocked to see him come in. And it kind of threw me for a loop, and I was like, why is he in? Is Skyler hurt? What's going on? Is there an equipment problem or something? But it looks like they just put him in for a series just because. I don't know if it was pre-planned or they were unhappy with the way Skyler was playing. But that caught me off guard, and I was very shocked to see that. And no, there shouldn't be any type of quarterback controversy. But you know as well as I do, whenever there's any type of hype of a quarterback that's a backup, the fans, the student section, people call for that guy to come in. It's been happening for years upon years, and no matter who you are, they want the next guy up, and it's one of those things, well, you're not doing that great, put the next guy in. But I don't think there's any controversy there. I think Will Howard is going to be a great quarterback for us at some point. But right now, I still believe it's Skyler's team to get us to where we need to be and compete at a high level. But it's always good to know that you do have a quality freshman behind him that can step in and take snaps if needed.
Yeah, and I think I don't think we ever got any confirmation from the coaching staff, but from what it kind of looked like, I don't think the TV version even really talked about it much, but I think Stan and Wyatt might have touched on it a little bit. I think Skyler just got his bell rung. I don't know if they were doing concussion protocol real quick or what they were doing, but it definitely looked like he just took a big shot and needed a couple reps there to catch his breath or go through concussion protocol and came through that all right. So, anything else you want to touch on real quick before we move on to we got a bye week this week, so we got to talk about OU 2 weeks in a row, which I hate talking about OU. Anything you want to touch on Arkansas State, K-State, home opener, COVID crap, anything else before we move forward?
Yeah, not really. You were at the game. You tell me your opinion. Do you think the environment from listening to it on TV and watching it, it's hard to tell because the crowd sounded fairly decent, and then you had the band there also. But how much of a role do you think the crowd played in K-State's intensity going into the game?
I mean, I think there's a fine line. I mean, obviously, I think zero fans is horrible. I mean, it'd be really hard to play. It'd feel like a practice out there with no fans and with zero crowd noise. I mean, there definitely wasn't a home field advantage, I would say, from a crowd noise, like on the defensive side of the ball. So I think we're somewhere in between no home field advantage and having boring nothing in the stands. So, which is fine. If we got, 8, 10, 12, 15,000 fans out there, I think that gives it a good enough atmosphere where the kids can get excited and feel like they're at least playing a game, where when, I've watched some games on TV when there's zero fans in the crowd and it's just horrible. It just feels like a practice out there. So I'm happy we have some fans in the stadium, but I don't think there is going to be any home field advantage just from a crowd noise standpoint. which will probably help us. Going down to OU. OU's a pretty tough place to play, pretty loud place to play. So I think it hurts you when you're at home, obviously, but it helps you when you're on the road. So at the end of the day, that's what everyone's like. Oh, COVID this, COVID that, and I was like, every team is getting dealt the same hand for the most part. So it's all a bunch of distraction. It's all difficult to deal with. So no one's gaining an advantage during all this. It sucks for everyone. So go out there, put your best foot forward, and play some football. So yeah, long answer to an easy question. It was good to see the fans out there though. I was at the game and just watching as a fan. My pregame work was done before kickoff, so it was fun to see everyone out there. It was a little weird, awkward, strange. Just kind of, you're not high-fiving people around you. There was no tailgating. So, but I think Gene Taylor and that athletic department, it's the best they can do right now. So props to them for pulling it off, and at least they're trying, and they're doing a pretty good job of it so far.
Right. Good deal.
All right.
Nope. Yeah, well, at least it wasn't the KU Charlotte game at 9:00 at night.
No kidding. Who decided that? I
don't know.
I made it to halftime, and I think it was.
I know. I was exactly the sad thing about it. I watched it to halftime, and I went to bed feeling confident that Charlotte was going to win. So.
Yep. No, exactly. Which, yeah. I guess we haven't talked too much about. Rough day for the Big 12. Iowa State, K-State, and KU. The Big 12, the former Big 12 North is not representing. So it would have been funny to see. Not funny, but if like Nebraska would have got smoked, if they would have been playing, if they would have got smoked, then it would, Big 12 North prior Big 12 North had a bad week.
The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
Picture this nightmare scenario. You're hosting friends for the big game. It's neck and neck in the fourth quarter, and suddenly you realize you're out of drinks. You start to sweat. Your friends start to turn on you. You're forced to go on a last-second drink run and end up missing the game-winning touchdown while in line. Terrifying, isn't it? Luckily, you can avoid the drama with Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits, then get them delivered right to your watch party. Compare prices across multiple stores in your area, find the best deals on game day drinks, and get back to armchair quarterbacking from, you guessed it, your armchair. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. I'm here to tell you about Boll & Branch and how you can discover this new level of softness with their iconic sheets. In a recent customer survey, 96% responded that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. They source the rarest 100% organic cotton for an incredible softness to start. Then they skip the toxins and harsh chemicals for a natural feel unlike anything else, and it all comes together with their signature weave. This special design feels buttery, breathable, and unlocks new levels of softness with every wash, and they stand behind their promise of softness. With their 30-night guarantee, you can wash, style, and sleep in their sheets for an entire month. If during the 30 nights, you don't love your sheets or feel them getting softer and softer, you can send them right back. No questions asked. So head to bollandbranch.com for 15% off your first order with code Odyssey. That's BOLL and branch.com. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
We now send it back to the Powercat Podcast.
Oklahoma. Always good. Always great. Lincoln Riley. We're not going to be – my biggest worry is we snuck up on them last year, and they've had this game circled since 10, 11, 12 months, whenever we played them last year. So what's K-State need to do? We'll touch base a little bit more on them next week just because we got a bye week, so we got a whole another week to talk about them. But what's K-State need to do? Well, let's focus on K-State. What does K-State need to do better to have a chance to play just a competitive ball game down in Norman next week?
Here's the thing about it, and whenever we play these heavy pass teams, which is like 99.9% of the Big 12, if you notice against the dominant teams, the top-tier teams, whenever the quarterback, Scholar, has a good day running, we have a chance. And for whatever reason, Oklahoma could not figure out K-State's run game, especially with the quarterback. He always finds a way to have big games against Oklahoma. So I'm hoping that the staff and the coaches, they get paid a lot more money than I do, and I'm pretty sure they're a lot smarter than I am as far as offensive-wise. They're getting a game plan to get the ball in his hand and Deuce Vaughn and kill the clock, run that clock, take advantage of Oklahoma's defense, and then if our offense can do that, we got a chance. And then we need our defense to get a few stops here and there and a few special teams plays, which we're always good at. But that gives us a chance. And like you mentioned before, I don't think with the crowd being whatever percentage they choose to go with there down in Norman, that helps us out a little bit, as well. And the fact that we got beat, that should add motivation.
Yep, no, absolutely. I think, this team really needs to recalibrate and not. I mean, that was all. I think that's kind of. It's every coach says it, but I think Coach Snyder and Coach Kleiman as well both do a pretty good job of. It's not about. Yes, it's about winning, but it's really about the process and how you prepare. And if you go out there and play and you lose, I mean, at least you can look in the mirror. Where you go out against Arkansas State, you don't play very well, you lose. I mean, that's really when things are no fun to be on a football team. But, I agree with you. And that's always – that quarterback run game is always – it's always a fine line. How aggressive do you want to be, especially early on in the season? It's like, well, man, Skyler's going to take a lot of hits throughout the whole entire year. And that's why a lot of these non-conference games, you don't see the quarterback run game very much just because hopefully you don't need the quarterback run game to win. Obviously, looking back, maybe we should have ran the ball a little more with the quarterback. But no, I think in order to go down there and have a chance to win, we're going to need some production out of the Kansas State run game. Tight ends, fullbacks played pretty well actually, but it's going to be a tall task. It's going to be it's going to be fun. Just I'm going to tell myself it's going to be fun. So, but no, hopefully it's a competitive ball game. And I truly think it is. I mean, we heard Coach Kleiman say a couple different times, guys with chips on their shoulder, and I think that does make a huge difference, as silly as it sounds. When guys have a chip on their shoulder, they seem to prepare better. They seem to and they seem to play better. So hopefully we can sneak up on OU. OU a bye week as well, so they've got 2 weeks to prepare for Kansas State. Hopefully, maybe they're looking forward to that October 10th game against the University of Texas. So hopefully we'll catch them sleeping. But they look as powerful and explosive as ever, that OU team.
Yeah.
But what they put up against Missouri State, 48-0 against, Missouri State's a formidable opponent. They're obviously OU handled them with ease, but not the worst opponent in the country. So, what OU? Anything you want to touch on?
No, not really. The quarterback, the guy Spencer Rattler, everybody's talking about him. You've seen his highlights. You've seen his videos. The kid's a dynamic player, but the thing about it is, though, a lot of experts are tabbing him as the next Heisman candidate, and then with the fact that he's been under Lincoln Riley for a whole year prior to this season, and knowing the system, they expecting him to do bigger things than the last three guys that have came through who have pretty good, successful careers. But I don't know, Oklahoma's always Oklahoma, but their big knock is defense. And last year, the same thing happened before they played K-State. They were playing, they played good defense, they were putting teams away early, but then they ran into K-State, who gave the defense problems. And I think until they stop a team that can score with them and do it convincingly, I'm not totally sold on Oklahoma to win the Big 12 right away. They're top three, but I'm curious to see what the defense is going to do. We know what the offense is going to do. They're going to put up numbers. I don't care who they play. They're going to score. That's a given. And I guess the big question is the defense. What's the defense going to do?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And Missouri State's offense probably didn't test that defense very well. And so just hopping back to quarterback situation over at OU. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Hurts last year. Holy cows, they've had the number 1 or number 2 quarterback taken off the board at the NFL level for the last 3 quarterbacks they've had, and now they got a young gun in Spencer Rattler, who's a redshirt freshman, so we're probably gonna have to see him for the next 3 or 4 years. Lincoln, he knows how to recruit quarterbacks. So, but no, that is probably OU's MO now. I always still, it's funny. We always have these kind of preconceived notions from when we were kids growing up, and the teams we watched then, they all kind of still drift into our mind, and I always still kind of imagine OU as this, this really, really good defense and a good offense and just kind of an overall complete team, but. Recently, you're right. They are an exceptional offense and a very average defense, more years than not. So it'll be curious to see how good is that defense. Will Kansas State be able to test them? Problem is I'm looking across this defensive two deep and a lot of juniors and seniors out there. So looks like we got Brian, Nick, and Jaden from the linebacking core are all sophomores, but everyone other than that, those 3 linebackers are sophomores. Everyone else is juniors or seniors. So they have plenty of experience, plenty of depth, and plenty of good football players down there in Norman, Oklahoma. Noon o'clock kickoff. Do you know where you'll be watching it? You're not going to it. You're not going.
Is it noon or 11?
Oh, actually 11. You're right. Yep, you're right.
I think it's 11.
11 o'clock kickoff.
I think it's 11. Yeah. No, it depends. Well, it depends. I have a football game for my high school the night before, and it depends on how late I'm up watching film from that night. Depending on where I'm at watching, I don't know. It may be home from the basement. It might be at a buddy's house. Yet to be determined.
How about Kansas State opening up on the road again? Big 12 conference on the road against the best team in the conference. How's that Big 12 commissioner for easing a second-year coach into things?
Yeah. Hey, but the thing about it is, I'm kind of glad that we're getting them now than later.
Yeah, you can sneak up on guys early.
Yeah, and he's a freshman. He's still, he's a redshirt freshman. He's dynamic, but he's still a freshman, and they're still kind of ironing out everything, and they're not clicking 100% like they will be 4 or 5 games down the road. So I'd rather get them now, early, than late.
You're exactly right. That's a good point. And at the end of the day, he's still a freshman. Freshmen get nervous. Freshmen get rattled, especially dial up a few blitzes, hit him in the mouth a couple times. We'll see how. We'll see how good and athletic and how good his arm strength is once he's had a few shots from old Wyatt Hubert. So, with that being said, I think that's all we got for today. We'll be here next week. Even though we got a bye week, we'll still be bringing you a little content next week. Probably touch on OU a little bit more. Talk about some other Big 12 games that happened over the weekend, even though K-State is off. Anything to wrap us up here, Monte?
No, man, it's good to be talking football again. It's always good to hear your voice and talk K-State.
No, absolutely. Who you guys got this week? High school was it?
We got Marysville homecoming for us Friday. Marysville coming to us with home opener.
Marysville,
so
that's
a good game.
They're a pretty prominent program usually. This year they still look pretty solid.
They lost a bunch of guys last year. They had a couple of tough games early. They played Wamego last week, and Wamego got them 28-14, I believe the score was. But they got some kids that play, and they got so much tradition, and they got pride. So we don't take anybody for granted. So it's one of those games where we know it's going to be a physical game, so we're getting ready for that.
Sounds good. And your son, he didn't graduate, right? He's still pretty young. He's sophomore, G?
No, he's a sophomore. He's a sophomore. He's doing well. He's starting their free safety for us, and he's also actually starting at receiver. Caught his first touchdown of the season last week on a post route, beautiful throw and catch, and had a couple of breakups and several tackles. And he actually ended up kicking for us for the game. Our kicker got hurt, and he ended up being the field goal kicker and the kickoff the rest of the game. So he was loving that.
Well, keep getting that boy some reps. Kansas State's secondary could have used a little help, so let's get him in purple here in about 3 years, and and give that defense a little bit of help. But awesome. Sounds good, Monty. You have a great week. This has been the Tannahill and Spiller Podcast. After a Cats loss against Arkansas State, we'll see you all next week for more preparation and talk of Kansas State versus Oklahoma. See you guys soon. Thanks, guys.
Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.